Steiness. Kenneth?
Thanks, Jennifer, and good morning, everyone on the West Coast. Good afternoon on the East Coast. As Jennifer said, my name is Kenneth Steiness, and I'm a virtual technology solution professional with Microsoft and also a managing partner of Sensei Project Solutions. Been doing scheduling for a very long time with Microsoft Project and do deployments and app development as well. For those of you who are not familiar with Sensei, we focus exclusively on Microsoft PPM deployments and services and training. We've done literally hundreds of deployments between the consultants on our team. We've trained thousands of project managers on how to use Microsoft Project effectively. And as a business, we really focus on good processes in the deployment, role-based training, solutions that are in line with Gartner Group and PMI standards, as well as apps for Office 2013, which I'll show you one or two of today as well. Before we get into 2013, just want to set a little bit of context here in terms of these building blocks of PPM. Most organizations deploy project and portfolio management solutions because they're trying to solve certain problems or issues. And they typically fall in these 5 categories here, and it's dealing with the upfront project intake and prioritization. How do we capture all of the work, all of the proposals with the full business case and resource requirements, and how do we figure out which ones we should be doing? So the intake and prioritization. And those of you who've been around Microsoft PPM for a while know that this came originally out of Portfolio Server in 2007, integrated into 2010, and just continue to provide good support for that in 2013. Resource capacity demand management is another key area of focus for Microsoft PPM, being able to balance out the capacity we have with the demand on resources and identify bottlenecks. Budgeting and cost tracking is the ability to tag or set a budget for the project, and then when we do our detailed planning, actually compare our baseline to the budget and track actuals against the baseline. Project planning and collaboration, of course, is the traditional core project planning module, and collaboration is the SharePoint integration, being able to manage all of your documentation, your issues, your risks, and collaborate around the project. And then project status and portfolio reporting really is where everything comes together in terms of being able to see what's going on across the portfolio from a resource perspective, from a project perspective, from an issues perspective, and so on and so forth. A little bit of background on proactive scheduling. Probably the best way to explain and describe proactive scheduling is with this analogy here. When I used to travel 10 years ago, I would always go to mapquest.com and I would print directions out. I'd get on a plane, fly out to Washington, D.C. or wherever I was going, and get in my rental car. The problem with printed directions is as soon as there is a construction detour, as soon as there's something that goes wrong, I take a wrong turn, I now have static directions that are out of sync with reality. So what I needed, of course, was a GPS system, which I got eventually, which is able to tell me exactly where I am, and it's going to reroute me if I have detours. It's going to provide that accurate, up-to-date information about when I'm going to arrive. So really what's needed in project management is the equivalent of that GPS system. We need something to help us get back on track with our project schedules. So if you think about a reactive schedule is one that's hard-coded with dates. We've all done it, entering start and finish dates. It doesn't have any forecasting ability. It's really just a picture of a point in time. Whereas a proactive schedule, on the other hand, will always show the actual progress to date. It'll always reflect the estimates to completion. And it will proactively change and help show you the decision points. Where do we need to take corrective action to make better decisions around our project schedules? So just a little bit of that as a background. And as a philosophy, that's baked into everything that you're going to see today with the Microsoft PPM solution as well. Okay. I'm going to come back to this slide here. Actually going to go in and show you. It's my reminder for the meeting. Actually, it was one more slide. My apologies. I did have one more slide I wanted to show you guys. So with 2013, really the focus was very much on being able to manage all of the work in the organization. Not just manage sort of strategic projects, but being able to manage everything. Being able to manage support or business as usual work, small initiatives, large initiatives. So really scaling is key, and work management is key in the Project 2013 release. You'll see on the left-hand side I have individual, team, and enterprise here, and I have low, medium, high complexity for my projects. So with Project 2013, the task management in SharePoint has been improved greatly to a point where I can start out, like maybe I had an Excel spreadsheet and I can move that into a task list in SharePoint, and I can manage my smaller initiatives just directly in SharePoint, no need for anything else. Then as that initiative grows more complex, I can choose to maybe use Project Professional to edit that SharePoint list. So this gives me a little bit more functionality, kind of slowly helps me grow into that maturity of actually managing a project. From there, we can choose to take that task list and actually put it into Project Server. Start managing it as alongside your portfolio, your enterprise projects. And then, of course, you have the full-blown enterprise projects here. So I'm going to try and show you a little bit of everything here today. This was originally a 4-hour seminar that we've done in 10 cities across the U.S. and Canada, and a lot of you were not able to make it to come out, so we wanted to do an abbreviated version of that session in an online virtual environment here. So we're going to be going through quite a bit today. Let me start right here. So here is just a very simple little SharePoint site. We're doing an office relocation project, and the project manager or the team lead here decided to just use SharePoint. So this is SharePoint 2013 with a task list applied. And this is the home page. You'll see that you get the benefit of having a little timeline view. You get the benefit of having little reminders here, sort of a project summary. And this will rotate through and show you what's coming up next, which tasks are running late, and so on and so forth. I can also go into my task list and take a look at the whole list of tasks right here. You highlight those tasks where the due date is in the past. And once I get to a point where maybe I need a little bit more help, I can actually open this with Project Professional. Open this with Project Professional and start editing it directly in the client. So that just gives me that additional functionality, and then sync back and forth. So if I mark a couple of tasks complete here real quick, for example, save that and sync it with the project list. While that's syncing, let me go back. And you'll see here in just a second, these will actually update to be complete now. So that's kind of that first level, the task management. Of course, I can do my documents in here. I can do my collaboration. Another key feature of 2013 that we really like is the built-in ideation, where you can create a SharePoint list where people can submit their ideas and suggestions. So instead of opening up Project Server to the whole organization and having to deal with the licensing involved with that, you can create a simple ideation SharePoint list where people can come in and say, I'd like to build a PTO tracker, or I think we should be doing a recycling program, or whatever the case might be. And then as you go through and decide which ones you want to do, you simply select and say, you know what, these two are good ideas. I'm going to move them forward into my Project Server environment. So we could simply say create projects here, and it goes ahead and allows you to map the columns from your SharePoint list to the Project Web App fields, and then choose what type of project these are. Are these infrastructure projects? Are they software development, production support, and so on? And then we could actually create the projects from here and then now become part of my enterprise environment. So let's go take a look at what Project Web App looks like today with 2013. So first of all, you'll notice some UI changes here. There's just lots of great improvements, and this here is getting started. These are the live tiles that kind of help you get started if I want to create a import a project. From here I could actually either just start a brand new project, or I can look for existing SharePoint sites and add them to Project Web App. So I can do that from here. Cancel out of that. I can also share this site. I can invite other people to join Project Web App here. Brand it, of course, add lists, libraries, and so on. And then once I've gotten started with this, I probably want to remove the Getting Started section here. And then I'm left with my tracking section, which lets me look at my projects, my approvals, my tasks, my timesheet issues and risks, and so on. You can add additional items here as well. Still have the quick launch down the left-hand side. And when I go in and take a look at my projects, you'll notice that we now have a portfolio timeline here. So if you're familiar with the timeline in 2010, now we have a timeline that's available for the portfolio here. And in this case, I'm in a view that's looking at the projects by sponsor and by workflow phase. So if I want to add this Hammerhead project to my timeline, I can do that and change the colors. I can add specific milestones from this project. So just build a very nice, simple little portfolio chart here. Another key requirement is typically the need to separate active projects from proposals. So that's something that obviously is very well supported with the governance workflows. So in this case, I'm looking at a view that has proposed projects and those projects that are being considered for selection. Now with the integrated, just switch to this report here. With taking full advantage of business intelligence and Excel services, we're able to also look at that data through an Excel spreadsheet. And this was something, Excel services, of course, was introduced in 2010, and there's some additional support for PowerView in 2013 as well. But these reports really allow me to interact with the data very well. I can go ahead and just say, I only want to look at the projects where I'm the sponsor, if I'm Bob Friendly, for example, and I can select my own name in the slicer over here, and it'll filter the data to show me what I care about. Another common request is to look at a prioritization scorecard for the entire portfolio of projects. So this one will actually list the projects in order of their score, their overall score, depending on how you've rated them in the strategic impact. If you're familiar with the business drivers and you rate each project against the business drivers, this prioritization scorecard will show you a prioritized list of projects in the portfolio. I'm going through this a little bit faster today than we normally do, just because we're trying to cover 4 hours of content in an hour and a half here. But the next building block of PPM is the resource capacity and demand management. So a very, very common request is to be able to see by role how we're doing against the demand on these resources. So the DBAs in the month of February, for example, are over-allocated by 105 hours. And you'll see that Daryl does indeed have over-allocation of 32 hours and Mike has over-allocations of 80. But really, the reason we're over-allocated is because we have proposed work coming in that's assigned to the generic resource, and the rest of the work we could actually move around and reassign to other DBAs. So that's one of the very common reports for resource availability there. And again, we can use the slicers to filter out the data. The next logical question is, why am I over-allocated? So why is Mike over-allocated? See, we can actually look at Mike here. So Mike is over-allocated because he's working on both the defect tracking system upgrade project and the wireless network project. And then we can drill in and take a look at specifically which tasks are causing the over-allocation on these projects right here. It's another popular resource manager report to actually go and look at that. budgeting and cost tracking, we're seeing more and more organizations wanting to go ahead and put that budget in the project right when you're given it. And the process typically goes like this. Say, a project manager is given a budget of, say, $100,000, $200,000, $500,000 before we understand the full scope of the project. So we're able to use the budget feature of project and actually, let me actually just open it up in here too. Bear with me 1 second. Open up the same project in here, and we can compare the report to the data that's actually in here. So if I look at this Butterball project right here, and I switch to my budgeting and cost planning view, you'll see that this project has hardware budget of $275, software budget of $50,000, training budget of $100,000, labor budget of $350, for a total budget of $775. Now let's switch back out to the report so we can take a look at that. So here's that $775,000 is the total budget. You'll notice that when we baselined the project, we came in at $772,000. So we were actually doing really well. But then we started spending money, and we're now running $114,000 over, even though we still have, we've only spent $274,000. Now, I want to know what's causing me to run over, so let me go ahead and expand this project right here. Here you have the hardware, labor, software, training cost types that we looked at earlier. And you can see that the reason we're running over is because our hardware estimate was off by $85,000. Our software estimate was off by $25,000, and our training was off by $5,000. So just an easy way to capture that data from a budgeting perspective, baseline it, and then track the actuals to get good visibility into the budgeting and cost tracking as well. Now, this particular report is grouped and sorted by where we have the greatest variance. So you can see IT as a department has the greatest variance. And if I collapse IT, you'll see that engineering has some variance too, but not as much. And then within each department, the projects are listed in order of the variance. So which project has the greatest variance? So this is great from a PMO perspective. It's great to look at from a project manager's perspective. If I'm again, Bob Brentley, I can say, I just want to see my projects. How are my projects performing in terms of performing against the budget and baseline cost? So you can see Bob's projects are not too bad. Now, from a finance perspective, I want to look at this slightly differently. I want to look at it from a, let's go back, pull up the next report. So this is budget and cost tracking from a project perspective. Let's look at spending by cost type instead. So spending by cost type simply pivots the data and lets us look at, okay, where are we spending money on hardware, labor, fees and permits, software, training, and so on. And I can expand the hardware group, and we can see that there are 6 projects in the portfolio that have the hardware budget assigned. And there's a total variance of $260,000, and it's coming from these 3 projects. So there's $100,000 variance on project A, $85,000 on project B, $75,000 on project C, and so on. So this gives us a good feeling from a finance perspective of how we're doing, how we're performing. Okay, great. Let's take it one step further and go back over here and switch back over to my active projects. And then we're going to look at the collaboration piece here. I like to use my Hammerhead interface project here. So from a project planning and collaboration perspective, we still have that dedicated SharePoint site. It's now available to you right here in the project drill down, where before we would always launch it from the ribbon up here, which you can still do, or you can launch it right here. So the project site, of course, pulls together, it actually shows the timeline now as well, and then it pulls together things like the latest announcement, the project status, top 5 active issues, key contacts, top 5 active risks, and so on and so forth. So just a great little dashboard for your project, and where, of course, we can collaborate as a team. So you'll notice that this is very similar to what we saw in the SharePoint task list earlier. We use a project status entry here, which is actually a list. So every week the project manager comes in and adds another project status item. And so that saves a history of our status narratives. And the reports will then pull the most recent status narrative to into the reports. If I go to the issues list here, this is very similar to what you've been used to in the last couple of releases, where you have the ability to go in and edit these, have the ability to tie your projects, your issues to tasks, to other issues, to documents, and so on. All right. So not too many changes here. Nice to have the visual of the timeline now. All right. So let's move on to the project status and portfolio reporting, which is a very exciting portion of the tool. So we have 3 primary technologies that we're using with Project 2010. It's Excel services, as you've seen already. It's Performance Point, which is what you're looking at here. And it's SSRS SQL Server Reported Services. And they all have different advantages. Excel services is great for those interactive reports where I want to select multiple filters, maybe want to sort and group my data. So it's very, very good for that. Performance Point is really great for those pretty high-level executive dashboards that kind of just give me a quick glance, a quick overview of what we're looking at. So in this case here, I have the investment categories here of how many projects are helping me run the business, grow the business, transform the business. How am I doing on cost by department? I'm spending $5.5 million in engineering. And from here, if you're familiar with Performance Point, we can do that drill down. Oh, try that again. We can do that drill down and take a look at, my mouse is not cooperating right now. Do the drill down and take a look at which projects make up the engineering projects and where we're spending the most money. And then from here, we can choose to do that decomposition tree and actually look at which resources we're spending money on, fees and permits, and so on and so forth. So here I'm spending over $500,000 on this business import-export project. And now I can take a look at my resource list and just see where I'm spending the most money. And in this case, I'm spending $350,000 on hardware, $124,000 on fees and permits, and then the rest are all labor costs of this particular project. So Performance Point is great for that. It's also great for things like a high-level overview of your timesheet data. How are we spending time in the organization? It looks like we're spending 39% of our time on actual projects. We're spending 39% also on support work, and then we have quite a bit of administrative work here, and then we have some vacation, and we have some sick time. You can see that as well. This, of course, will pull data in not only from your project schedules, but also from SharePoint sites. So let me actually go over the issues and risks here. This will show you which projects have the most active issues, which projects have the most active risks, and so on and so forth. So lots of great stuff here. From a reporting perspective, you've already seen several reports in project intake, resource capacity, and budgeting and cost tracking. So let's scroll down and take a look at some of the, actually, we saw issues a minute ago, so let's jump to that issues report we had open right here. So if you use, instead of using Excel, if you use SharePoint to manage the issues on your project, then of course you're able to get that portfolio level reporting on issues. So in this case, I'm looking at all of the issues, all of the active issues, I should say, across the portfolio of projects. So I have a total of 15 active issues, You'll notice that 2 of them are overdue. These issues are listed by due date. I have 3 down here that don't have a due date assigned, and I have 1 issue here that hasn't been assigned to anyone. So again, if I'm a sponsor, I can click my name. If I'm a project owner, so if I'm a project manager in the organization, I can click my own name, and I can see that on my 2 projects, these 2 projects right here, I have a total of 3 active issues. So this is a great way to interact with that data. In that same building block, the project planning and collaboration, we have the ability to look at all of the project schedules and see where we're missing deadlines. It's another one of my favorite reports. On the read-only controller project, we have 5 deadlines that we're missing. And one of them, the project completion, we're actually missing by 42 days. So this gives me the ability to proactively go back and start working on this and see if I can take corrective action. All right, but let's get back to the list. Back to the list of projects here. All right. We also have that sort of that traditional portfolio status report that just allows the executives in the organization to see by department which projects do we have, sorted by finish date, when are they going to finish, how do I feel about the project. So my project key performance indicator here, this is the one that's set by the project manager. So the project manager says, you know, I feel great about the project, we're green, everything's good to go, or maybe I'm yellow, this project is on watch, or maybe I feel like it's trouble and I set it as red here. So that first one is the project manager's subjective opinion about the project. Then we have the schedule KPI, the work KPI, and the cost KPI. And those are pretty standard KPIs where schedule tells me my finish variance basically. Work tells me my work variance, and cost is my cost variance. So if you have 100, 200, 500, 1,000 projects, rather than looking at an alphabetized list, Gartner says you should be focusing on those projects that are troubled or on watch. So if I uncheck the on-track ones here, I simply filter my large portfolio of projects to only show those 7 projects that I should be focusing on right now. So you'll see that, for example, my Hammerhead project here, it's 84% complete, it's supposed to finish here. Project manager says it's in trouble. We know that we're 36 days behind schedule. I get just the high-level data here. 230 hours over our estimate, and we're $17,000 over our budget. So if I want to see more information, I simply click through and pull up that detailed project status report that summarizes all the information from the schedule, from the SharePoint site. Here's that SharePoint site project status update that we looked at earlier. So the project manager went in and said the project was proceeding close to plan until early August, and then we were 4 days off schedule, and then da-da-da-da-da-da. So this is that narrative that explains what happens. Tell, you know, if you met your CIO in the elevator, what would you tell them? Then we have a list of the 10 current project milestones. Now the definition of current milestones is that anything that's finished in the last reporting period or coming due, so then what's coming due next. So in this case here, the executive review was completed. You see the little check mark out here, and these 9 milestones are what's coming up next. And you can see the variance. This one's running late by 9 days. This one's running late by 59 days, and so on. Let you focus on what's important right now. On the second page of this report, we're then able to see more detailed information about the cost summary for the project. So we have, this is similar to that Butterball project we saw a minute ago. What was the budget? What was the baseline? What are our actual costs? What are our remaining costs? And what's our variance? Okay. The graph cost by month shows me what was my baseline, the red is my baseline. Blue is what I actually spent when it's to the left of the status date. So you see I spent a lot more money in June than I thought I would. And it looks like my forecast is these 3 blue bars here are my forecast. So anything to the right of the status date is forecast. Anything to the left of the status date for the blue bars represent my actual cost. And then we summarize issues on the project. In this case, we have 7 issues, 4 are active, 1 is postponed, and 2 are closed. Now, typically, what Gartner recommends and what we're asked for a lot is the ability to identify a problem in a portfolio report and do a quick drill through directly to the problem. So we just came from the portfolio report. We clicked through to this status report, and now I want to see what these active issues are. They're, of course, listed down here. But if I click on the pie chart, it takes me out to the Hammerhead project site and pulls up those 4 issues right here. And so I've just gone from a portfolio level to a project status report to an issues list for that project. And of course, from here, I can look at the project details as well and look at the schedule and look at what else is going on, documentation, and so on. So that's kind of that loop, if you like. All right. So let's look at a couple other things. If you're doing the Outlook integration and you choose to tie your team members' Outlook calendar to project server, then whenever they set their status to be out of office or away, then it will also reduce their availability in the resource center. I forgot to mention that earlier on the resource report. We, of course, provide support for multiple browsers now, multiple devices. So we use this on tablets all the time now and using a number of different browsers here. All right, so let us take a step back and look a little bit more at what's new in the client. Okay. All right, so in the client, perhaps my favorite new feature is reporting. Reporting has been completely revamped for 2013. You actually now have a separate ribbon up here, a report ribbon. Let me just pin that. And the way it works, let me just pull one up and then I'll explain it. The way it works is here's a built-in dashboard report. This is nothing custom. This is out of the box as is. You have this canvas where you can put add tables of data. You can add charts. You can add text, and you basically can customize what you want to look at from a project status perspective and then distribute this to your entire team. So for example, this milestones due table, on the right-hand side you can see that it's filtered by upcoming milestones. It's not grouped by anything, and it's showing milestones at all outline levels. But if you wanted to only show, say, project level milestones, you can choose level 1. Or phase level milestones, you can choose level 2, and so on. You can also choose a separate sort if you wanted to. So just a lot of great options here. If I choose this chart right here, this chart is showing active tasks at outline level 1, and then it's showing the % complete. Now, if I want to go to that next level of detail, I can simply select level 2, and it's going to show me the deliverables of my project. And then I can also filter out certain individual projects here. So just a great new dashboard feature. One of the another new feature for 2013 is the ability that we actually now have cumulative fields. So we have the ability to run these burndown charts. The first one shows work burndown, and the second one shows task burndown. So the gray line represents my baseline. This is how things were supposed to go. The orange line represents my actual, what did we actually do, and you'll see that we're sitting right here in terms of actuals. That's what we've gotten to on the project. And then the blue line represents my remaining. So it looks like we're outperforming our baseline. And then there's some kind of delay right around September time. There's some kind of delay that's causing us to come in about 2 or 3 months late. You see the task burn down over here, similar chart. Great. So look at a couple of different ones here. The cost overview allows you to just get a quick glance of what are the scheduled costs of the project, what are the remaining costs, what's our % complete. you get to see in terms of the phases of the project that we have no more remaining costs in phase 1, and we were about a third of the way through our actual costs in phase 2, and we haven't spent any money in phases 3 and 4 yet. It's a great way to look at it as well. And also here you can of course choose to edit this by adding additional information. All right, let's look at a couple different ones. All right, over-allocated resources. This is in the past we had to go to a resource view to see over-allocations, or we had to just look at in the Gantt chart 2010, look at the little Burning Man. But even that didn't really tell us the full picture of over-allocation. So this report tells us, first of all, you have 50 people on your project, but these 3 are over-allocated. Dennis, Robert, and Bonnie are over-allocated. And before we start spending a lot of time investigating these over-allocations, the first thing I want to know is how much work is remaining. If there's 2 hours remaining, do I really care about that over-allocation? Maybe not. But in this case, we have quite a few hours left. So that's the work status on the left-hand side. On the right-hand side, then, I get to see on a little time scale here when resources are over-allocated. I can see Dennis is over-allocated here, and here and here actually, and I can see that Robin is over-allocated here and Bonnie is over-allocated here. So that gives me a good idea where to go look in my schedule, and I can also see the severity of the over-allocation here, so where to go look. That's another great report. This one, the Resource Overview report, gives me some great stats of who's got remaining work and what's the work status in terms of the percent work done by all work resources, so the percent complete. So you can see that Pavel Bansky here is sitting at about 75% done. We see that Bonnie has only just gotten started. You can see the remaining work and the actual work in the charts on the left-hand side. And then on the bottom here, you can see sort of a high-level overview of the status here by resource. When are they starting? When are they finishing? What's the remaining work for the project? That's another nice report. Okay. That's fine. We've looked at that. The critical task report is great because it tells me the status of my critical tasks, which how many are complete, how many are late, how many are future tasks. Let's just show a couple more reports and then we'll move on from this one. The milestone report is another great report, and if you use a consistent, a good standard and consistent methodology for building your schedules, where you have one milestone at least for each deliverable, one for each phase, and you have your project level milestones, then these reports will really shine. So this tells me we have one milestone that's running late. These 4 are coming up next, and these are the completed milestones. So you'll see this list gets longer and longer as we progress through the project. Let's see what else. Slipping tasks, of course, is another good report to look at. So, okay, let's go look at a couple additional items that are new. We have, of course, the link integration. So if I want to check in with Katie on the status of this project, how are you doing on tasks? We have link integration, so we can initiate a conversation, we can send an email, initiate a phone call directly from within the project schedule as well. Another great feature is the task path. So the ability to track or to visually see what the predecessors and successors, or driving predecessors and driving successors, are in the schedule. So let me turn these guys on and we can take a look at it. So you'll see as I turn these on and I look at my Gantt chart on the right hand side, I'm going to zoom in just a little bit, make it a little bit easier to see. You'll see that this task here, task 4, which by the way is also highlighted, if you look out in the Gantt chart, it's now highlighted out here as well because we continue to highlight straight out. This task has a predecessor of task 3, it's highlighted in yellow, and the successors are highlighted in purple, so you get to see visually in the Gantt chart. And as you select tasks, you see this one here has 2 predecessors, task 3 and task 13. This is a great way to visually see that in the project schedule. Go down to towards the end of the project here and select one of these guys, and you'll see that this one has a lot going on. We have a couple of predecessors here, successors here, but because we have some manually scheduled tasks, we have some potential issues going on right here. So that's the task path. Turn that off again. Okay. All right, come back over here. Another key brand new feature in Office 2013 actually is the apps for Office. And let me actually demonstrate that with, I think I have an Excel. Yeah, I have an Excel spreadsheet open here. So apps for Office, it's like apps for your phone or for your iPad or your Surface, where you have the ability to extend the functionality. So we can extend the functionality of Excel. We can extend the functionality of Word, of Outlook, and of Project. So I'm just going to demonstrate the concept with an Excel app, and then we'll go in and take a look at a couple of apps in Project as well. So here I have a basic sales chart in Excel, and I'm going to go ahead and open up my geographic heat map app. So this is an app that allows you to map your sales data on a geographic map, in this case of the U.S. So it's just one example of an app. Hopefully that'll pull up here. Of course, this is what I get for running this live. Well, while that's pulling up, let me just jump out to the App Store real quick here. So the App Store provides you with different apps, like I said, that perform a specific function within Excel, Word, and Project and SharePoint. So let's go to the Project apps here. Notice that the Sensei Task Analyzer is featured out here. We actually have a couple of apps that we've launched for Project 2013. One checks for compliance against industry standards, and one is a dashboard app. But you come out here to the Office Store, and you get to read about the app, see different screenshots, and you can watch a video, and so on. And then you can either run a free trial, or you can buy these apps and add on to Excel. And let's come back in Excel Project. Let's come back in here. This has come up now. So in this case here, this app asks me to select the data that I want to use. So I'm going to select the data over here, and I'm going to say sales map. Oh, didn't actually select my data. Okay. Well, never mind then. I'm just going to go in and show you the project apps instead. So for project, we have the ability of running apps as well. So this particular app, the Sensei Task Analyzer, will review your schedule for compliance against industry standards, so PMI standards for scheduling and work breakdown structure, as well as general best practices here. If I just look at the checks first, see that I have work breakdown structure checks, I have resource checks, checks for links, and checks for schedules. And I get to set the severity of these. So I can say, oh, this we consider an issue or a warning or a message, or we want to ignore this one completely. Or I get to say that only tasks with durations longer than 30 days are considered out of compliance here. So then when I go back to the analyzer and I click my way through the tasks, whenever I come across an issue, the analyzer will tell me. So here I'm selecting the Gather Business Requirements task, and I see on the right-hand side that there are no resources assigned, and I can ignore it if this is deliberate, or I can fix the issue. So let me go ahead and just fix the issue right now. I'm going to say Johnny is assigned to this task, and then you'll see that this task now goes lists as compliant. So as I work my way through the schedule, I'll see different issues. Here I have resources assigned to a summary task, which is a big no-no. Here I have links on existing on summary tasks. Here I have a duration that's longer than 15 days, and I have a work estimate that's greater than 80 hours. So it will check against, it'll perform 22 different checks and help you build a high-quality schedule. Okay. All right. So let me actually show you me actually show you a different app as well. Just log into a slightly different environment here. And I want to show you an app that brings together SharePoint data and project schedule data in one interactive dashboard. Let me open this guy up. So today, if you're using Project Server today, you have your schedule, and then you can of course link out to your SharePoint site for your issues and your documents and so on. But this app here, the Project Dashboard app, will pull the SharePoint data into your schedule and actually combine it with your schedule data and show it to you in an interactive dashboard. So the way it works is, this is technically speaking a SharePoint app that is being rendered inside of Project Professional, and it's showing you the data. So let me give myself some more real estate here. These are live tiles that rotate through key information about the project. So you'll see the green tile here is my project level data. When are we going to finish? How much is the project going to cost us? What's our percent complete? And do we have any issues and risks? So it rotates through that data, and if I mouse over, it'll give me the curtain of the same data as well. The tasks tile down here will rotate through slipping tasks, missed deadlines, due soon, and so on. Documents will show me all the documents in my document library. Issues will show me which issues I have on my SharePoint site. And risks and deliverables, same thing. So if I want to look at just those, answer those key questions, when are we going to finish, project cost, percent complete, and so on, I click on it and it gets to the next level of detail. Click on the finish, it goes to the next level of detail again. We're scheduled to finish on January 14th. The baseline was December 31st. We're running 10 days late, highlighted in red, 3% over. Great. Now, if I continue to click through here, it'll go to my task view. But before we do that, let's just look at a couple of the other ones here. So this will give me that quick glance of the high-level, sort of project-level status here. We're $49,000 over cost variance against our baseline. Now, the tasks here are pretty interesting. This allows me to look at where do I have slipping tasks, and then I can interact with the data in my pie chart and say, do I have slipping tasks that slip more than 5 days? Yes, I have these two. One is a milestone, that's project completion, and one is this task right here, which is capturing current and proposed technical landscape. It was supposed to finish on April 2nd. It's now finishing on April 9th. That's a variance of 5 days. I have 16 hours left. Now, if I just pop my filters up here, I can see that right now I'm filtered to only show critical tasks. That's because if I want to bring the project back on track, I really just have to focus on task 34. Task 34 is the #1 place I can go to fix the delay on my project, because that will help bring in the project completion milestone as well. If I do choose to look at everything, then I get quite a few tasks that are slipping. But if they're not on the critical path, then it may not be as urgent. And then I can click through and see what other tasks that are slipping a little bit, where I can have a little bit of an impact on my critical path as well. So that's slipping tasks. The next page shows me where I'm missing deadlines. So this will highlight deadlines that are being missed in my project schedule. I have the next page is due soon. Where do I have tasks that are due in the past in this case, or tasks that are due this week? I have 2 tasks that are due this week. Which ones are due this month, next month, and so on. So just a quick and easy way to interact with the data. What I can also do is go in and see, for example, select a resource. If I'm sitting down with one of my team members, I could say, show me the tasks that are due soon where Kenneth is assigned. So here's review project specifications, and now I want to make sure that that's being handled. I have to set that back. Look at all tasks. The next page looks at tasks that are starting soon. So this is great for team meetings. So what's starting soon? Well, we have 9 tasks that were supposed to start but haven't yet. And then we have 2 tasks that are supposed to start this week, 9 this month, and 3 next month, and so And then the last page here shows me over allocations. Where do I have over allocations? On critical tasks. And if, of course, if I change my filter to show more than critical, it'll show me that data as well. Similarly, with documents from the SharePoint site, I can go in and select my documents and say, this is sorted by modified date. When were documents modified on the SharePoint document, in the SharePoint document library? And then I can choose to filter based on extension here. So I want to see all the PDF files. Maybe I want to see all the PDF files that were edited by Bill, for example. So it's a great way to interact with that. From here, I can, of course, jump to my document library. Of course, it's going to ask me to sign in, but I'll jump to that document library and show me the full list of documents there. Issues, same thing. I have, looks like I have 7 issues on my project. Let's filter for those that are active. Now I have 3 active active issues on my project. And if I look at those that are overdue, I have 2 that are overdue that I can look at, and you'll see it'll also highlight the due date down here when they're actually less than the project status date. So in this case, our project status date hasn't been updated yet. Each of these pages here come with guidance as well, so you can see additional information about the particular page or the particular section you're in. Risks work much the same way that issues do, that you can look at all the risks on your project, and deliverables work the same way as documents, basically. It's a list of deliverables sorted by the finish date. So this is something we're very excited about. The possibilities here are great, and the ability to interact sort of more visually with your data is new to Project 2013, a new option that we have with these apps here. Okay. Wonderful. I'm just going to do Jennifer, would you let me know if we have any questions coming in as well?
Yes, we don't at the time.
Okay, great. Then I'll move forward here. Okay. I want to go back to back here and just take a look at a couple of different things. Okay. If I can get back on track here. We have, for those of you who've used Project Server for a while, there are some great improvements here. For example, the timesheet UI was one of the big items that we had some concerns and complaints about. So the UI has really been cleaned up, especially when you look at adding rows or selecting from existing assignments. It's now much more user-friendly. I go ahead and select which project, which phase, which deliverable, which tasks, and select multiple tasks and easily add those to my timesheet. So just a much cleaner UI here that really helps adoption as well. You'll notice when we go back to the Project Center, let's scroll back up and go back to the Project Center. You'll notice as we go in and take a look at some of these detail pages that the UI it's a little bit different as well. That's that Microsoft Modern UI where we're really focused on content, and we're also focused on content, and the menus disappear when we don't need them. So, for example, if I go back and forth between my project details pages, if I'm not looking at something where I need a specific menu, the ribbons will disappear in here. The workflow visualization on this page here is now built in. It's sort of a very basic workflow visualization, but very nice to be able to see that we have a proposal, selection, planning, execution, and closing phase, and the current phase is always highlighted with this call out, and then this step, the actual stage that we're in within that phase, project execution, monitoring, and control, is shown in green here. And then the next phase is shown in blue. If you have a situation where you have different phases, the governance phases that the project could go to, then they'll just show a little dot, dot, dot here. And this is very similar to what you're used to, being able to see all the workflow stages here. We can see that for this particular project, we did the initial business case, we did the department review, steering committee review, detailed scope and schedule, baseline schedule review, and we're currently sitting right here. Okay. Couple of things when we go look at the schedule here. All right, so this is when you go to the schedule detail page, you now have the timeline here. This, of course, syncs with the timeline in Project Professional. It's a very nice visual directly here, and that's the same timeline that you get basically on the project site as well. We with 2013, we're now back to one database, and we're we have one scheduling engine, so you can now you have a lot more features and functions directly through the website. Not everything is available through the website yet, but if I edit in the browser here, just let that. That'll refresh for me. It's a little bit slow here. Anyways, we now have one scheduling engine. So Project Pro and PWA has the same scheduling engine. It's just a single code base. It allows for you to do things like adding cost resources and deadlines. You can update formulas online. You can even baseline your project schedule, which is something that you were not able to in previous releases here. You can also see when you actually insert a new task, and here it comes. Just running a little bit slow today. When you insert, for example, if I insert a new task right here, and I link it, if you look at the Gantt chart here, you'll notice that it automatically updates. You no longer have to send it back to the server to calculate. It's calculating automatically directly here. The other thing I forgot to mention on that previous page was the workflow visualization. You can now edit the workflow with SharePoint Designer and Visio, so it makes it a lot easier to do that. And see what else I wanted to cover here today. Okay, I think that's good for right here. Okay. All right. So let's come back in here for a second. There's a tremendous amount of momentum right now around project. You've probably seen IDC reports and Gartner reports for the last couple of years here have really been positioning Microsoft PPM as an industry-leading solution and growing, the largest PPM solution in the industry and growing. There's actually over 22 million users worldwide in 10,000 organizations, and about every 20 seconds another copy of project is sold. So just a lot of momentum right now. We're seeing very early adoption of 2013. The official launch of Office 2013 was January 29th, and in the past, the trend was for organizations to kind of sit and wait, see if a service pack would come out, watch what other people were doing from an adoption perspective. But that really hasn't been the case with 2013. It's just it's been a very, very powerful release, and organizations are adopting it faster than I've seen any other release adopted in the past. So I'd like to open up for questions. If anybody has any specific questions, please go ahead and type them in the chat window, and then I'll encourage you to go look at our YouTube channel. We have a lot of great content out there that goes in more detail within the individual building blocks. And we have some great content out on LinkedIn, and follow us on Twitter, and of course on our Facebook page. But I'd like to just open up for any questions that there might be at this time. Great.
I'm not seeing any questions come in just yet, Kenneth, but let's give 1 minute or two because it could take a minute to type.
Yeah, absolutely.
Are you seeing questions come in the chat? Last time we did a webinar, actually, someone did submit a question and I couldn't see it, so I just want to make sure if you don't see anything either right now.
No, I think we must have answered everything, Jennifer.
Okay, well, you did a great job. Thank you.
Well, thanks, everyone, and we hope to see you out there on social media. Got a lot of exciting stuff going on. We're currently working on a brand new app that's going to allow you to access your timesheet, your task list from your phone, whether that's Android or iPhone or Windows Phone. So keep an eye out for that. Sign up to follow us on social media to see when we release that. So thanks, everyone, and thanks, Jennifer, for organizing this.
Thank you. Have a wonderful day.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.